What's good? What is good? What's going on, everybody? I appreciate you checking in. We're back with another one. We're just coming off the 49ers, and we got to get down to this 53-man roster. The deadline is less than 24 hours away. So I got two of the GOATs, two of the greatest that come on here and talk Raiders, both Chris, Protect the Shield podcast, as well as the Severe Raider. I appreciate you guys joining me to knock this thing out. And I'm telling you, it's difficult. We were just talking offline. It is difficult to get to this 53, but I appreciate you guys joining me. Chris, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm blessed, man. I'm happy. I'm excited to see what this 53 is going to look like, man. And I appreciate sharing the stage with you and Severe, man. Two guys I truly respect in this game, man.
It's going to be fun to talk about, man. Severe, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing better than a few guys that we know of that already got cut. I'm doing better than them, but
already got some news.
I'm doing great, man. Always a pleasure to share the screen with you guys, man. Two guys that who I look up to, man, in terms of what you guys are doing in this creative sphere, man. So yeah, man, ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be fun. I mean, I'll tell you, I kind of went through my 53, and what was so difficult was watching the 49er game. A lot of the backups played, but they also played against the 49er starters, which was interesting. It was interesting to see just kind of how we battled, and I think they held their own. They did a damn good job. They didn't allow Purdy to get comfortable. You had some of the D-line really getting after him. But there's definitely some positions that when we talk about depth, I think there's a lot of starters that have kind of solidified themselves. But when it comes to depth, there's definitely some positions that there's some questions. Do we keep one or two extra bodies at a position that we might see some injuries? For example, offensive line. We obviously have some question marks when it comes to that number two. We know that I think it's pretty obvious that that Jacorian Bennett is going to be slotted in that number two. But what about the depth in the defensive back position? And so how do we kind of differentiate that, and how do we get down to this 53? Because it is not going to be easy. So, but let's kind of dive into it real quick. Chris, I'll hand it off to you real quick. What position are you most interested about? Oh, I think we might have lost Chris. I think he'll come back in just a second. But Severe, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna hand it to you first then. What do you think? What's your opinion on what's the depth going to look like? What position do you think it's going to be really interesting? How do we figure out who we keep? And at the end of the day, where's the biggest competition going to be when it comes to positions?
So I think it is two positions, and they kind of commingle together because of Brock Bowers. And I think you're looking at wide receiver and tight end, just because we don't know how many guys we're going to keep. I believe tight end. My assumption would be we keep at least 4, but then when it comes to wide receivers, what Tyreek McAllister has done this preseason, that cannot be ignored. And I know that, and Antonio Pierce had recently said, and I covered that only preseason isn't going to weigh any more heavily than what a guy does in meeting rooms and in practice. If he's not doing it in all of those phases, then a good preseason performance won't dismiss him not playing up to snuff in those other areas. So that's why it's hard, because I haven't really heard a lot about Tyreek McAllister, but when he's in these games, he is a guy that pops. And with special teams being such an important part of the game now, his return ability, I think, could be a deciding factor, because if you're able to put him back there, that alleviates the need to put maybe a guy like Trey Tucker back there or a guy like Dylan Lobby back there.
Yeah, I'm with you. And that's based on what Tyreek McAllister did this past against the 49ers. And prior to that, you got to put him in the conversation.
Yeah.
At the very least, he's got to be talked about, because we don't have a lot of depth at the receiver position. But again, I think you just mentioned it. We're also going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets. We're going to have tight ends that we need to bring in, but it's not just bringing in a specific number. you got to know we have two different types of tight end, right? You got Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is more that pass catching type of tight end.
Yeah, that move tight end.
Yeah, where they're going to move him all over the place, right? He's going to play inside. He's going to play outside. He might line up in the backfield. But then you got Michael Mayer that can be a pass catching tight end, but he's going to more or less kind of have his hand in the dirt, and he's going to be more that blocking tight end. So if one of those goes down, you got to have somebody that's going to replace them so that you don't have to completely throw away, a big majority of your playbook. You want to be able to slot somebody in right away that can kind of replicate their game. And that's going to be one of the hardest things to kind of figure out. But then also you want to keep some of these receivers. So very interesting. That's kind of the offensive side. Defensive side is going to be really interesting when you look at the defensive tackle depth. You look at our defensive end position. Where is Tyree Wilson going to be listed on this depth chart? Because I think there's a pretty good battle at the defensive end position when it comes to the depth of it. But then that's where I kind of was hung up on, was the depth at the defensive tackle position, the interior guys. That's where I'm sitting there going, you guys you have a guy like, Matthew Butler that did okay against the 49ers, right? But then you also have, you already have Adam Butler there. The defensive line depth was probably one of the hardest for me to kind of evaluate. But at the end of the day, I think that it's going to be difficult to get down this 53. Now, one thing to keep in mind is we do have David Argoa, which is that international pathway player. So we can technically have 45, but we also got special teams guys, right? AJ Cole, Daniel Carlson,
Bobenmeyer,
our long snapper. Those guys you got to take in consideration. So technically, with our starting offense and starting defense, we got to get to 51.
Yeah,
technically, and it's not the easiest. And so, all right. So Chris is going to try to get back with us in just a second. Oh, I think I might.
Yeah,
but the man's back.
Yeah, but to your point about the defensive line, I think it makes it very difficult, especially the Tyree eval, just for the simple fact that I think that Janarius Robinson has outperformed him. I think that Charles Snowden, from everything that I've heard, especially when it comes to camp, he's been a guy that outperformed him as well. So, then I think Adam Butler, Christian Wilkins, John Jenkins, those three guys are locks in the interior. So then maybe you carry one more. Do you count Tyree as that fourth defensive tackle, and then you're cutting Nesta, Byron Young, and Matthew Butler? And as you just alluded to, Matthew Butler, he played pretty well against the 49ers. And I keep hearing about how much Robbie Leonard is in love with the guy. Like couldn't stand him last year, but now he's one of his favorite players, if not his favorite player to coach on the team. And he's a guy that was a fairly high pick, I believe, out of Tennessee. He had some pass rush pedigree there, and he just didn't really take to the coaching early. But now he's starting to take to the coaching. So do they want to continue to try to mine that potential, or do they want to give up on him, in the pursuit of, keeping some other guys? That's going to be very interesting.
No, I'm with you. And so, Chris, I was just talking to Severe about it. What was your hardest position to kind of evaluate on this roster? When it comes to the depth and everything, when you're looking at, what was the hardest position for you to kind of evaluate on who you wanted to keep and who you wanted to potentially let walk? What was the hardest one to evaluate?
I'd probably say linebacker, because I had a real
we all know who Severe is already cutting.
Easy to make that decision.
Yeah, I can't lie, man. Gainer really impressed me, and even a little bit I saw from Bernie. He really impressed me. And people that know me and that follow me know, I wasn't real big on Bernie last year, just because he lacked physicality to me. But he showed he was coming downhill. In the game I did see him. He was looking for contact. He was looking for you know, he was just looking to hit somebody. So he was looking like a true linebacker. You know, I know Severe's not big on Eichenberg, but I'm really not big on Masterson. So, but I think that, you know, my guy Bernie may not make it, and I would hate to see that. So linebacker was definitely tough for me.
I feel you. That's, you know, for me, it was kind of offensive line. It was linebacker. You know, it's whether or not we take a receiver, an extra receiver versus tight ends, because we're going to run 2 tight end sets.
That's true.
You know, and then it's for me, the D line. The D line was a tough one, especially how well Matthew Butler kind of played in that against that 49er game. But before we we're going to go right into the 53. I'm going to bring up the depth chart. We're going to go into it, but let's take a shout out to the chat. Ginslinger, what's going on, man? I appreciate you always pulling up. Great guy, great dude. Got a good chance to hang out with you both open practice. That was awesome. Dre for show 1, 2, 3. What's going on, man? Appreciate you pulling through. Mike Green, what's going on? Jeffrey, appreciate you, man. Then you got Crimson Raider. Appreciate you rolling through. And then Leo, you always around, man. I appreciate you coming through. Jack Kenna, what's going on? What's going on? You got let's see, we got Jerome Clemens. I hope we keep Amari Gaynor. He proved something. He proved something that last game. You can't really complain about that. You got Jaguar Paul. What's going on? What's happening? And then last but not least, Gunsmoke Games. GG, what's up, man? Oh, and then we got one more. Elmatic, what's going on?
My guy Elmatic, what's going on?
So let's do this. We're gonna jump right into this. I'm gonna pull it up on the screen. We're gonna touch offense first. I hope everybody can see this. Let me know if you guys can. If I got to blow up a little bit, but let's start off. Let's talk about receivers. I went ahead and put blue dots next to players I think without question we're going to take. All right, we're going to take them. Obviously, Devonta Adams. Down below, you got Jacoby Myers. Let's take a look at receivers. I put Devonta Adams, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, DJ Turner. I think those 4 are a lot. Can we agree or disagree on that?
Agree.
We're good. Yep.
Agree. Okay. So obviously we talked about Tyreek McAllister. What he did during preseason obviously showed up and showed out against the 49ers. Hard part is, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? And this is my evaluation. The hard part about Tyreek McAllister is I feel like he's almost complete replica of Trey Tucker and DJ Turner. I think he does the same thing. He's a smaller receiver. Yes, he's quick. He's fast. But at the same time, he took that ball back, right?
Yeah.
But you got Trey Tucker. You got DJ Turner that also can play in that return game. And so to me, I don't know if he's a true lock to make this 53, considering the fact that we got 2 guys that are exactly like him. Let's go. Severe, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on Tyreek McAllister, whether or not he's going to make this roster?
Nah, man, you make some very valid points. I think the thing you would have to put into consideration, or what the Raiders will have to consider, is how much of the offense do they want to give to Trey Tucker and possibly DJ Turner. If these are guys that you expect to play a part in the offense, then I think you want to lighten some of their load and have a guy like Tyreek McAllister there to maybe cover those special team duties, especially if we're talking about as a returner. So, we saw that DJ Turner, I think he's developed as a receiver. He's a guy that was going to probably be our primary returner. And Trey Tucker, Devontae can't stop saying good things about him in terms of his development as a receiver. We saw a little bit of it after hearing about some drops. He seemed to resolve that issue during the preseason and was probably, our most impressive receiver throughout the preseason. So if you're expecting those guys to be a big part of the offense, then it would make sense to have a guy like Tyreek McAllister there just to cover them on special teams.
Chris, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I really just love, because it's not even just the last game we saw it. I think it was the first game against Minnesota. We saw flashes of it. He's a running back that is apparently converting to a wide receiver. So there's a lot of things you can do with him. He can kind of be what Gruden wanted. What's my man from Kentucky that we got?
Bowden Jr.
Yeah, like just like a Swiss Army knife. But the thing is, we kind of already, like you said, we kind of already have that. We have the Trey Tuckers who we need to get the ball in space, and Bowers. He's the same type of guy, not as explosive, but still. And then we got to figure out what we're going to do with Lobby, and I'm sure we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But you can't teach speed and you can't teach explosiveness. I'm finding a way to put him on the team, man.
Gotcha. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do. We're gonna have a little bit of fun with it. So if we do, let's before we kind of lock him in, Christian Wilkerson. I think he's a lock to kind of make this team. He's gonna have to be one of those receivers that sits behind Devonta Adams, because if we don't have another guy with height and Devonta Adams goes down, you got nothing but 6 foot under guys backing him up. So to me, I feel like Christian Wilkerson is going to make this team. Let me know, Severe.
So I disagree, just because, and this might not be the best example, but last year in Chicago, he kind of made it work with Mooney and with Moore. And he featured and maybe it was because of this reason, but I think Chicago was top 10 in terms of the number of times they were in 12 personnel, so they were able to maybe mitigate some of the lack of size on the outside by putting bigger bodies there at receiver. And then if we talk about skill duplication, I think that like Christian Wilkerson is like the Temu version, the Sheen version of like Jacoby Myers, right? So it's like if we already have Devontae, and Jacoby is a kind of a close facsimile of what Devontae does, and then Christian Wilkerson is just an even like cheaper copy of what Jacoby is. So it's like we have some skill duplication there as well. So I'd rather go with some guys that are more explosive than a guy that's a bigger body.
Gotcha. Okay, Chris, what's your thoughts? I mean, the only thing I will add is, I guess, Severe, to your point, is if one of the, like Devonta Adams, Jacoby Myers, if one of those goes down and now we risk taking height off the field, you can. And that's when we go down and talk about tight ends. You can put a guy in, like Harrison Bryant.
That's all I was about to say.
Does that mean that maybe Cole Fotheringham now possibly has a chance at making this roster as well, just adding the height, more explosive at the receiver position? But Severe, that's a good point. Chris, go for it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to allude to as well, is we keep talking about how much 12 personnel we're going to do. I think at that point, if we did lose a receiver like that, then that's when we should really see that 12 personnel and then use having those tight ends to our advantage. I am kind of on the fence on how many tight ends I want to keep, because like me personally, I like Zach Gentry. I like Cole Fotheringham as well. So we can, if need be, we can get some height out there if need be. Harrison Bryant, he's good, and then we know what Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers is. So and Christian Wilkerson, I remember seeing him on special teams and kind of just running down, but I don't know how much of a difference maker he would be. So I'm not totally married to him, man. I gotta be honest. What I liked about him before is because I thought he had a good chemistry with AOC, but with AOC not being a starting quarterback, I can't say that I'm married to him.
Yeah, it's tough. So I mean, as it stands right now, we got Devonta Adams, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, DJ Turner, and then Tyreek McAllister. Let's jump to the offensive line. All right. And again, for me, this was kind of hard, only because when I evaluated the offensive line, I wanted to take into consideration Jackson Powers-Johnson. It's questionable whether or not he's going to be ready to go week one. Even though I put a blue dot next to Cody White here, I'm not a big fan. I actually think, in my opinion, someone like Jordan Meredith would be better to start off. Me going over
Really?
the film, and I watched the 49er film. I went back. Jordan Meredith played an outstanding game. And he's played very well through this entire offseason or this preseason. And so I wouldn't be mad if I saw Jordan Meredith actually tick over Cody Whitehair if Jackson Powers can't go. But as it stands right now, we got Colton Miller, Cody Whitehair, Andre James, Dylan Parham, Theron Mumford. DJ Glaze is obviously a lock. Jackson Powers, he's a lock. What are your thoughts on Andres Pete? Do you think he makes this squad? Severe, go for it.
That's a tough one. That is a tough one.
You hate to say it, but you got to.
Yeah, man. I think he does, just because he provides depth at tackle and a little bit at guard as well. I think if they had their way, they didn't want him on the squad. So that's why I think that's why they put DJ Glaze out there at left tackle. And when they did, he struggled mightily. And not like Andres Pete was much better, but I think that, if they had their way, that they would keep just Glaze and Thayer Munford. But Thayer Munford is injury waiting to happen, and DJ Glaze did not play well at left tackle. So I think they're kind of forced to keep Andres Pete.
I'm with you. That's Chris. What's your thoughts on Andres Pete?
Same thing, man. I know we were all we were on his neck, man, that first preseason game. But if you watch him a little bit more, he did okay. It's just the big blocks that he missed were huge, and it caused sacks and stuff like that. Again, he's a guy I'm not in love with, but he provides depth because he can also move inside to guard if need be. Because right now we really don't know what our depth at guard is going to be. We don't know what what issues he's really dealing with. So to me, I think you got to keep someone like that. Veteran presence, has played a lot of ball in the NFL in multiple positions. Started a lot of games. Pro Bowler. I mean, I know he's not that now, but I think we got to keep him, to be quite honest.
And look, I'm with you. I think we have to keep him because of the veteran presence. I also think that because of his versatility, right? He can play tackle, he can play guard.
Yeah.
I know he didn't perform very well, but at the same time, if a guy like Jackson Powers Johnson just doesn't play, or if he has another concussion issue, we might need someone to drop down there and play guard at times. Because again, I'm not sold on Cody Whitehair. I will say, I do like Jordan Meredith. I'd love to see Jordan Meredith make this team. Again, I think he played solid against the 49ers. But what's really hard is that now puts us at technically 4 backup offensive linemen. And so you're going to have to start narrowing guys down, as we kind of get deeper into it. So, but I will say I wasn't a big fan of the DJ Glaze pick where it was. I think it was a panic pick, but I'll give credit where credit's due. I think DJ Glaze has shown progress. And I think that and he played well against the 49ers, he could definitely challenge Thayer Mumford for his spot as the season goes on. So that's gonna be fun to watch.
And what are you guys' thoughts on Dylan Parham, man? Are you guys sold on him? I mean, I know making the team, but just from a performance standpoint, what's your thoughts? I mean, I think he's okay, but I mean, at any chance we have the opportunity to upgrade, I'm not opposed to it.
I wouldn't be opposed to. I'm not opposed to upgrading any position. I don't care who you are. If we can find an upgrade, I'm good finding an upgrade. I think he plays well enough so where it doesn't make it a necessity for us. We're not out actively searching for an upgrade, but if we can find one, I think we'll go there. I think what will help Dylan Parham tremendously is the fact for 2 things. First of all, he's moving back to the right side where he played pretty much his entire college career and his first year in the league where he had his most success. And he's going back to a zone blocking scheme in which he played his first year in the league, in which he had his most success. So I think those 2 things combined will help him. I think he'll have a little bit of a resurgent year.
I'm with you. And here's my thing is it's tough because you always want competition. But as it stands right now, I do think with Dylan Parham, what I saw, he played a lot of that second game. He played almost 3 full quarters, and he didn't do extremely well. I started to see the issues that I saw with him his rookie year, where his eye discipline is very questionable, where he goes to double team or he goes to attack a down lineman and he engages so much where he doesn't understand that he has help, and he turns his head, his eyes leave, and a linebacker or a DN comes around right underneath him. He just doesn't keep his eyes basically scanning the field at the same time. And that's where he lost a lot of he lost a lot of his blocks just because his eye discipline just wasn't there. And that's what I love about Jordan Meredith. Is Jordan Meredith understands how to engage in a block and scan the field at the same time, especially in pass protection. So, I'm not 100% sold on Dylan Parham. And so we'll see. We'll see kind of how it plays out. Real quick, appreciate everybody joining Space Beast. You're in the house. I appreciate you coming through. Kenny Clark, what's going on? Mark Walker, what's happening? Appreciate you coming through as well. We got over 117 in the building. I appreciate you guys coming through. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Go to all the channels. We're all going basically live. The Severe Raider. Go to his channel. Make sure you subscribe and follow him as well as Chris at Protect the Shield. Always up here, bringing the Raider Nation up to date with as much content as possible. So make sure you guys go and subscribe to their channels as well. Jeffrey Champion, appreciate you rolling through. Prowlable. Sorry if I butchered that, but Raider Paul, appreciate you coming through. You're always hitting us up. Dirk Zink, what is going on? Half dead.
Shout out to Raider Paul. You know one person I want to shout out though. I want to shout out the Los Angeles Raiders 11. Salute to him, man. That's my guy, man. That's a scout. Man. Severe. You remember him? The NFL.
Yeah,
scout?
yeah.
That's our guy.
So I don't know if Chris, I might have shown it to you, but he's a guy from my hometown. So we went to the same high school together.
Yeah, nice. We were just messing with him. He's a good guy.
Yeah,
he's a good guy. No, he was the only one willing to. When everybody else took tail and ran, he was the only one standing on business when it came to.
He was standing strong.
Only
he was standing strong. I like him. That's why I wanted to salute him. I like him. He was standing strong and he wasn't giving up.
The only one, bro. He stood there and took the bullets for everybody else that ran away, man.
OJ Raider, appreciate you coming to the building. William Price, Raider Pete, Nazo Nazario, Assassin's Creed, all you guys, Fear Raider,
David, everybody.
Laricia. I mean, you guys are coming through. I appreciate everybody in the building. 125. Make sure you hit that like button. I appreciate you. So let's go. We just hit offensive line. Let's go tight end. And, we talked about offline a little bit. The harsh thing about tight end is we're going to run a lot of double tight end sets. We might see 3 tight ends, but we also have 2 different types of tight ends, right? You got Brock Bowers that's going to line up everywhere. He's going to line up in the slot, out wide, with his hand down, in the backfield. But then you got Michael Mayer that's going to be he's going to play in that passing game, but he's also going to be that probably traditional hand the dirt type of tight end. We're going to run behind him. And so if one of these guys goes down, we have to make sure that we don't throw out a quarter of the playbook just because if Brock Bowers goes down and we don't have someone that can kind of be that that tight end that can play, all over the place, right? And so we also need a traditional blocking tight end if Michael Mayer goes down. So that's where it's going to be kind of hard. So what I did was I put obviously Michael Mayer lock, Brock Bowers lock. I think Harrison Bryant is a lock. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I only say that one because he could be that guy that comes in for Brock Bowers, gives Brock Bowers that breather, right? But then the next one is who's going to be that fourth? Because we're going to run 2 tight end sets. We didn't bring in Christian Wilkerson, right? As that extra receiver, we're just bringing Tyreek McAllister. Who's
Yeah.
that fourth tight end? Who's that fourth tight end? Do you think what might be able to be that backup to, I think, what would be Michael Mayer if we do keep Harrison Bryant? Chris, what's your thoughts?
You know, the homer in me that loves my Michigan Wolverines, Zach Gentry. I've just liked him, and I know he's had some injuries. And the kid can play, but I really like the flashes I've seen in Cole Fotheringham. You know, just in preseasons, in the past, he's flashed the ability to get open. You know, it seems like he can block well enough. So to me, that's tough, man. Because I'm probably higher on Zach than most people, but I'm just gonna be a homer. I'm gonna go with Zach, but I'm not mad if we go with Cole. So I think honestly, it's a flip of the coin. I'm okay with either or out of those guys.
Severe, I'm gonna throw it to you, but the only thing that I'll add when it comes to evaluating the tight end position is Cole Fotheringham did play a lot of special teams.
Yeah,
and I think we're gonna have to bring in
a lot.
I think we're gonna have to bring in a tight end that can play quite a bit of special teams. Cole Fotheringham played a lot. I'm with you, Chris, though. I do like Zach Gentry. And if you want someone that's going to put their hand in the dirt and block and come in for Michael Mayer, because Zach Gentry is a massive human being.
Yeah, facts.
You know, and so that's why it's going to be really difficult to see who's going to be that fourth tight end. Chat, let us know in the comment section. Who do you think that fourth tight end might be? But Severe, let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, man. At one point, man, I had us keeping 5, and then I actually got into the actual numbers crunch of what that would mean to the roster. So I had to take it down to 4 tight ends. You know, I like Zach Gentry. I like Zach Gentry a lot, but as you said, Cole Fotheringham on special teams. I think he has some ability at receiver, and we all heard about how this guy is just a monster on scout team. Like this dude catches every single thing on scout team.
He's Kelsey.
You know, he's the guy, exactly.
Yeah,
he's the guy that plays Travis Kelsey, and when he's playing, I don't know if the spirit of Travis Kelsey like like jumps into his body or what, like possesses him. But on the weeks that he's on that scout team, playing that position, he's a demon. So I think that there's still some potential there. And then he offers a little bit more of the receiving ability. He's nowhere near Brock Bowers, but he's more of a receiving tight end, I think. And so if you want to be able to have a true backup to Brock Bowers, I think Cole Fotheringham is closer to that than what Zach Gentry is.
I'm with you. I think a lot of people do like Harrison Bryant. We got Jeffrey Champion reminding us, Harrison Bryant, he can go off. You got let's see,
why the Browns let him go? Like I know Njoku did. He started stepping up, but did he have any injury issues in Cleveland? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
No,
I don't remember.
This was one of the things that I said that what could possibly happen was, we picked up Harrison Bryant prior to the draft, and Harrison Bryant could have been thinking I'm coming in, being that solidified number 2 and possibly compete for the number 1, because this is a new regime. Point. This isn't the regime that this is not the offensive coordinator that drafted, Michael Mayer. And so one of my thoughts was going into this offseason and we drafted Brock Bowers. I was thinking Harrison Bryant was possibly coming in thinking he was going to be that number 2, solidified number 2, and now he's at number 3. Would he possibly want to
go elsewhere?
And knowing that he could be a solid number 2 and possibly compete for a number 1. And so that's why I think he came over here. I don't think there was an issue in Cleveland. I think that he possibly came over thinking he could be a number 1. And so that's where, unfortunately, the draft fell the way it did. And, we'll see how it plays out. But I think he's been a gamer, no complaints. You haven't heard any drama coming through him. So I think I think he's ready to rock, and knowing that we're going to play some 2 tight ends, possibly 3 at times, Harrison Bryant's going to get his opportunities. So let's do this. Should I put a blue dot next to Cole Fotheringham?
I'm cool with that. I'm cool
That's
with
the
that.
number 4. Kind of roll with that.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Yeah.
Now, obviously, let's talk quarterback. We got Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell. Here's the biggest thing: Carter Bradley, Nathan Peterman. I do think we keep 3 quarterbacks. They did just change that emergency quarterback rule. I think it was this morning. To where your emergency quarterback now has to be on the roster.
So I think it was that way last year. It was that way last year. So I think I think there was a misconception where they had to be on your 53, but you have 48 active on game day. They didn't have to be included in your 48 active on game day to still be your emergency quarterback. So you can have 48 and not have one of the quarterbacks, but he'll still be dressed in the event that both those other guys go down. Then he has to play.
Yeah. So let's do this though, Chris. Who do you think? Who do you think might get that third one? Do you agree that we'll keep 3? But who do you think might get that third quarterback spot?
I can't lie, man. It's tough. I keep going back and forth, man. A part of me really would like for Nathan Peterman to continue to help Gardner and Aiden both, get kind of a fast track on fully understanding this system, because the sooner that they fully understand it, the better. However, I like what I saw in Carter. But I do think we could probably stash Carter on the practice squad, and I think he would kind of fly under the radar. So as much as I hate to say it, I think he's going to play the role that Hoyer was supposed to play. But I think I'm keeping Peterman, man.
Yeah, I think it is a difficult one, because Carter Bradley showed flashes, right? And anytime you can keep a young quarterback on the roster and develop him, and he looked a little shaky against the 49ers, which is fine. You're a rookie. But that second game, even though he didn't get a lot of playing time, he looked very smooth. He looked very comfortable. And so I liked just the just his ability to stay calm, cool, and collected that second game. And he threw that ball to McAllister, which again wasn't a great ball, but he was pumped. He was, you can tell that he was ready for the moment. He wanted to go out and ball, which I like. But in my opinion, I think what is going to allow Nathan Peterman to take that third quarterback spot is because he's got 2 years in Luke Getsy's system. He's going to be able to be an extra coach in that quarterback room, an extra coach on that sideline. Exactly. And if anything were to happen to any of these quarterbacks, he can get slotted in just like that and run the offense without a problem. Yep. And so I think that's what kind of wins Nathan Peterman the job. And at the end of the day, he's a solid third-string quarterback. I'm not sure if you're going to complain about having a third-string quarterback like Nathan Peterman with the experience that he has with Luke Getsy's system. So are we cool putting a blue dot next to Nathan Peterman?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right.
Yeah.
And then salute to everybody else in the chat, 146. I appreciate you guys. Remember, do us a favor, like the video wherever you're viewing from, and then go over to Protect the Shield podcast. Go subscribe to my guy Chris up there, as well as the Severe Raider. Make sure you go and subscribe to his channel as well. Two of the greats, always pumping Raider content and keeping you guys updated. So now let's talk about running backs, and this is where it gets really interesting. You got Zamir White, Alexander Madsen. You got Dylan Labe, right? Dylan Labe didn't look too great. Yes, it was actually a really good flash when he caught that screen on the outside, and that made the first man miss, burst upfield, but then unfortunately he fumbled, right? He didn't get a whole lot of opportunities, and he really didn't capitalize too much on the opportunities that he got. I think one of the biggest competitions and in order to get down this 53-man roster is, one, does Dylan Labe truly make this roster? But two, what do we do with Amir Abdullah? Because Dylan Labe didn't show flashes. Alexander Madsen can be a third down back if we really needed him to. But Severe, what's your thoughts? Do we keep Dylan Labe? And if we do we also keep Amir Abdullah?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. This is a tough one for me because, as you said, that I think that fumble kind of hurt Dylan Labe. But as we spoke about before, Antonio Pierce isn't just looking at what guys have done in preseason games. He's looking at what they've done throughout the entire offseason, and we've heard nothing but great things about Dylan Labe. And so with that being said, even though there is a certain individual who is an ultimate Raiders fan who would say that he's one of the ultimate Raider fans. He would say that Dylan Labe, he squandered his opportunity. I think that he had done enough throughout this entire process to basically earn a spot on this roster. And I think if we let Amir Abdullah go, I don't know if anybody else picks him up. So that could be a situation where we're still able to bring a guy like that, onto the practice squad and elevate him later if need be. And we're talking about skill duplication, even though he's not truly a back. I think there are other guys on the 53 that can do some of what Amir does on special teams, which is I think where a lot of his value lies. So if you want to have a guy like Dylan Labe be your third down back, and we'd have to replace Amir Abdullah on special teams, but I think we have the guys in house that can do that.
I'm with you. And before we kind of move on, Ron Winarski, you made this Getsy play calling sucked. The one thing to keep in mind during preseason is you're trying things out. You're not always play calling to win the game. All right. The one thing that I always look at when it comes to play calling, offensive play calling in the preseason is, are you being creative with your formations? One thing I loved about Luke Getsy's offense so far is he's running a lot of motion, which allows quarterbacks to kind of get that pre-snap read. And he's showing a lot of different formations to defensive coordinators are also going to take preseason and kind of get a glimpse as to what you might run. And so he's not keeping it completely vanilla because he is running a lot of different formations. We saw a lot of double tight end sets, 3 tight end sets. We saw some empty sets. So he's throwing variety out there, but at the same time, he's not throwing everything else. So I wouldn't judge too much on a preseason game or a couple preseason games as to what you feel about Luke Getsy's system. But Chris, what are your thoughts on Dylan Labe, Amir Abdullah? Do we keep him, or Dylan Labe, is he a lock to make this 53-man roster? And then what do you think about Amir Abdullah and his chances on sticking with the 53?
Yeah, it's tough. Again, it's tough. If I just got saw in preseason, I'm gonna say I wasn't just not impressed with Labe. It's just he didn't get too many opportunities, but then that fumble, man, it's always going to stick in our minds. So I don't want to give up on Labe because we hear a lot of good stuff about him. I know a lot of people were real big on him coming out of college. Amir Abdullah, to be honest, I know he's like into acting now and all that stuff. To be quite honest, I do like Abdullah. I mean, he's pretty. I mean, he's decent. But if I had to pick, man, it's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough.
Well,
I'm probably
OJ
gonna.
Raider.
God.
Yeah, real quick, you got OJ Raider. That's basically saying you don't cut your rookies, you develop your damn players. And I 100% agree. Obviously, they need to earn their spot, right? But
yeah,
what the better organizations and franchises do is you coach up your players. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They let Tyreek Hill go, and they didn't skip a beat.
Next man up.
Exactly, and they develop and they coach with their players. So I 100% agree with you that you got to develop your young rookies, but also at the same time they got to earn their spot. So that's kind of that.
And that's what I was going to say. Yeah. No, it definitely got to earn their spot. And it's not like he was a high pick rookie. Like everybody knows when you start getting down to the 6th and 7th round in the draft, you're not a lock. You're not going to get that the Tommy Eichenberg scholarship, man. He's gonna make the team whether people like it or not. But once you get down to like that 6th or 7th pick, man, you know, I know he's a fan favorite, but you know, just so I don't take all y'all time, man, I'm gonna put Abdullah on there. I'm cutting Britton Brown in McCormick, and I'm not necessarily sold.
Real quick, I'll respond real quick to Ron Winarski. Yes, you're a Bears fan. You saw a lot of Getsy's offense. In my opinion, I think a lot of failures of Getsy's offense was the limitations of Justin Fields. Justin Fields, in my opinion, just was a very inaccurate quarterback that just didn't help him out whatsoever. And so, yes, Getsy ran a lot of screens and all that. That was one of the biggest knocks on him. But when you're limited to your play calling because your quarterback just can't
he can't throw downfield.
Excel. Yeah, and he was very inaccurate. It's tough. But I'm not going to disagree with you, Winarski, because, look, the verdict will still play out during the season. So, real quick, the only thing I'll say about Amir Abdullah and Dylan Labe is because if we want to keep 4 tight ends, if we possibly want to keep an extra receiver, if because of the injury issues and concerns with the offensive line, and we want to keep maybe an extra lineman, I'll be dead honest with you, because Alexander Madsen can be that third down back as well and can pass block well. As much as I like Amir Abdullah, I really do, I think I'd like us to develop Dylan Labe, see what we get out of a young rookie, and possibly cut Amir Abdullah. You know, if I got to make cuts out of everything that we just talked about, if I got to make a cut to someone somewhere on this roster, maybe it's Cole Fotheringham, or maybe it's Amir Abdullah, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we'll put a blue dot just for right now, but those are my 2 guys. If we look at this entire page of starters and depth pieces, I think that Cole Fotheringham or Amir Abdullah are the only ones that I think possibly could get cut if you got to make a decision when we move to the defensive side. Yeah. So, chat.
So let me ask you this. So,
go ahead.
So let me ask you. So, what about Labe makes you want him to be a lock for the team? And because, like, if I look at his skill set, like, would you agree that? And again, you know, the sample size is small, but like, would you say that his skill set is similar to McAllister's? And McAllister might even be better on special teams than Labe.
You want to take it 805?
Yeah, go for it. I mean, yeah, go for it.
I mean, so Labe is a guy who I was very high on, like, early in the process, like pre-Senior Bowl. I was talking about Labe, and I think that just as a pure runner, just between the tackles, he's better than McAllister. Now, that's not where his bread is buttered, right? That's not what you want him to do all of the time. He's a guy that can do it, and he had success. But he's a guy that he is a weapon where you can move him all over the field. He is a natural pass catcher as a running back. You know, we saw him move up in competition, and I believe it's against Central Michigan. He put up damn near 300 receiving yards. You know, so I think he's a guy that there's a lot of potential there to be mined. I think he's explosive. I think he's agile. I think he is pretty good in pass pro as well, which I have not seen McAllister do either. So I think he offers all of that with some added ability to actually be a true running back out of the backfield, which is something, like I said, I have McAllister making the squad, but I think Dylan Labe is a guy that just offensively, there's more you can do with him, especially as a guy that is a true running back. You know, if McAllister can play the running back position, I think they likely would have tried him there. But, you know, the fact that they moved him to wide receiver, I think they did that for a reason.
Yeah, I agree. Again, to me, it just goes back to you got to. I'm a fan of developing your young players, and only because if Alexander Madsen can come in and be that third down back as well and produce just as well. I mean, when he was that backup running back with the Vikings, he excelled behind Dalvin Cook. he looked extremely good.
Yeah.
You know, they thought Alexander Mattson could have been that number one. That's why they let Dalvin Cook go. So again, if I got to cut somebody in the backfield, I'd love to see us develop Dylan Labe just because of what he showed flashes of in preseason, or in training camp. And a lot of people were talking highly about him. Again, I just think Amir Abdullah might be that veteran that kind of gets put on that chopping block to get down to that 53. So, Chris, did you have one more thing? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I get it. No, I'm not mad at that. I don't know, man. Something about just watching McAllister, and again, I don't like to jump the gun. I'll probably have to watch more on him. I think from my understanding, I think he originally started with the Broncos. I think they had him as a UDFA, and then get him into the CFL. But I don't know, man. Just something about that explosion that I saw. It's one of you know when you just see it, you just like it just stands out, you know. So I haven't seen that type of explosion in a while. So and again, just the way he was returning, not only last game, but even going back to the other games, he caught my attention. I'm like, who's that guy? Who's number 32? He's showing flashes. So but no, I get what you guys are saying with the comparison. That makes sense.
So that, I believe that would put us at almost about 26 players on the offense. So let's jump down and let's have fun with the defense. Again,
got to get real. Have to get real.
Yeah, chat, get ready for this one. But first and foremost, guys, let us know if you completely agree with something we did on the offensive side. But we did get some news that some guys were cut today. I don't mean to get too deep into it, but I'm not going to mention no names, but Chris, your boy Woo Governor, unfortunately was
he'll be back though. He'll be back, baby. He'll be back.
Yeah, we'll dive more into it. You got Noah Shannon, the D tackle, Ron Stone, TJ Franklin, and the DN and Rashad Williams. And so we did get some announcements. Some guys were already cut, so the Raiders are making moves to get down to this 53-man roster. So let's take a look at the defensive ends first. Let's take a look at the defensive ends. Obviously, we got Max Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz. They're a lock. I think Janarius Robinson makes this roster. Without question. You know, one of the things that I stated early last year, and made a video, one of my earlier videos, one of my raw videos, as a beginner. I basically said I think Janarius Robinson was going to be Tyree Wilson's replacement. And so, you know, obviously they have Tyree Wilson still at the DN spot. I don't know why they still have him at the DN spot. I honestly think that he's probably going to be more of an interior D lineman. But we got David Argola, which is the international pathway player, so he's going to allow us to get to 54. Do you think that there's another defensive end on this roster between Charles Snowden, you got Ellerson, Smith, that could potentially make this roster at the DN spot? Severe, go for it.
So I think, and I've been hearing good things about Charles Snowden. You know, it's not a guy like when it was first announced that like all the people that was going to the Pass Rush Summit, and I saw Charles Snowden, I'm like, bro, it's like it's wasting your damn time, bro. You it's like you need to be learning how to bag some groceries or something. But you know, but he's a guy that I think I want to say he's like 6'7", like 260 something. Yeah, he has some bend. He has had some power, and he's a guy that, you know, that I have heard that the coaches have been impressed with throughout the process. So, you know, like in the real world, if it was a true meritocracy, he would probably make the squad over Tyree Wilson, just to be honest with you. But the fact that Tyree Wilson was just a number 7 overall pick last year, I think that, you know, I think Charles Snowden will end up being a casualty. Maybe we throw him on the practice squad. I think he's a second-year player, I believe, second or third-year player. So maybe he finds his way into our practice squad. But there was a guy that was going to sneak on to the list as another defensive end. I think that would be the name to look out for.
Chris, what are your thoughts on the DM position? Do we keep one more name possibly?
Yeah. To be honest, I think instead of keeping him. I would almost kind of wait and see who else gets released from other teams. Just see if there's someone that's that's a casualty, a cap casualty that they can't. And plus, we still got Unique out there, from my understanding. So I'm not. The fact that Tyree is so underwhelming, I really want to just get someone else that can really get on the field and play. Charles Snowden, I think he's a he'd be a project, of course. Like Severe said, he has some good attributes, but in a division that we're playing in, if I'm going to have another defense in, I want a guy that I can really feel comfortable putting on the field. And I would go, give Ngakoue a call or see who else gets cut.
I'll shout to Space Beast, man. You're always all over it in all the chats. Love hearing from you. You said Marquand McCall was waived today. I didn't see that, so I appreciate you throwing that up there, which isn't surprising based on watching the film, watching kind of how he produced this past preseason. Not very surprising. One of the things that I will say is one guy to look at if Tyree Wilson does get moved inside on a permanent basis, which I see it happening. I actually liked what I saw these last preseason games, especially against the 49ers, was Ellerson Smith. Charles Snowden, if you watch the film, Ellerson Smith, Charles Snowden, he got after it, but he was very inconsistent. He got handled quite a bit in the run game. He got washed down line of scrimmage quite a bit, but Ellerson Smith was one of the most consistent players in that 49ers game. He showed a lot of good flashes against the other two preseason games, but go back and watch that 49er game. Ellerson Smith, he has the kind of energy and I guess I want to say twitchiness that I want to see Tyree Wilson have. But
everybody has it except him. Literally.
That's Ellerson Smith, and he's another big dude. And again, going back to special teams, Ellerson Smith made 2 tackles on special teams, one on the both on the punt team, run down there with Amari Gaynor. And so Ellerson Smith was also showing some value when it came to the special teams as well. So I definitely recommend everybody in the chat, if you go watch back and watch film, I'm kind of a film junkie, go watch Ellerson Smith. And he's a big body. And not only did he play defensive end, but they also played him on the interior as well. And he did extremely well. He's 6'7", 255 pounds, not the heaviest guy, but he has a push on the interior as well. So definitely one guy to watch out for. But because we got to get down to a 53, in my opinion, I just don't know if we add any more defensive ends. I think it's going to be Max, Coons, Janarius Robinson, and Tyree Wilson. I think those are the guys. Everybody else is probably either going to go practice squad. But if I could pick one guy to keep in a real world, I'd say, I'll be honest, I would let Tyree Wilson go and I'd keep Ellerson Smith. I would take Ellerson Smith over Tyree Wilson as it stands right now. I'd hold that and watch film against anybody on it. So, yeah,
you're talking a little bit spicier than me, man. See, I was talking to Arden Key better than Tyree. You're talking about Ellerson Smith.
Yeah, and you know what, maybe this week, Chris, we could jump on and do some film because I'd love to break it down.
To be honest, I do want to see because I can't say that I watched him that closely, so I can only give my opinion of what I saw. He didn't necessarily flash to me, but yeah, I'd love to watch him because Snowden flashed. He had some plays where he really made a difference. So I'll be interested to see Ellerson Smith, to be honest.
Yeah, and the only one thing I'll add to that is, when you're talking about Snowden versus Ellerson Smith, you're talking about a guy that maybe will get a handful of snaps a game, if that. So I'm looking at somebody that's going to be more consistent because I saw Snowden get washed out quite a bit. Yes, he showed flashes, but Ellerson Smith was consistent. across the board. He didn't get pushed back. He supported the run. There was actually a play, I believe it was towards the tail end of the third or maybe in the fourth quarter, where it was a 3rd and short, and he got off that ball quick and actually cut around the left side and got to that ball carrier in the backfield. And it was on a short yardage play, and you just see that energy. And so he was just more consistent. And not only that, he made plays on special teams, and he played inside and outside. So the versatility is there. So that's kind of why I would just lean towards Ellison Smith. Again, they're going to get a handful of reps a game if they make the team. So, all right. So we talked about defensive ends. Let's jump into the D tackles. And I'm just going to let you guys know the hardest part for me in the D tackles was kind of the depth, right? Because again, I think Tyree Wilson's going to find himself playing more inside than anything. I got John Jenkins. I got Christian Wilkins. They solidified themselves. I think Adam Butler is a lock. We brought him on early. We signed him and John Jenkins at the same times. Adam Butler is going to be a great rotational piece. But then we got guys like Byron Young, Matthew Butler, Marquand McCall. He got waived. Space Beast, you let us know that. Nesta Jade, I don't think he's going to make this team at all. But you got Byron Young. I think we may only keep one more name, if that. And to be honest, I'm questioning whether or not we even keep another name if Tyree Wilson gets himself in this rotation on the interior. So, Severe, what do you think? Do you think that there's another depth piece that we add to this D tackle room?
I think there is another depth piece you add there. I mean, I've spoken about it before. Just the love that I think that the coaching staff has for Matthew Butler. I think that maybe wins him the spot over a guy like Byron Young. But it's tough because I did hear early on in the process that Byron Young was having a pretty good camp. It didn't fully it didn't really translate to the field in terms of these preseason games. But I don't think that that's a guy that they want to give up on. I think he does have a little bit more size, in the middle of a defense than Matthew Butler, so that may sway the coaching staff, especially with John Jenkins being up there in age. That they may want a bigger body to kind of spell him at times, but I don't know, man. Just something about Matthew Butler, man. I remember Max telling a story about how when they were like in practices, like Matthew Butler was one of the guys that like kept hitting the quarterbacks, and they would yell at and like Max does, and they would yell at him, and then Max would come over and be like, "Hey, man, hey," like he'd be like, "I'm just trying to make this team. I'm just trying to show out." And Max would just tell him, "Hey, man, bro, just keep doing what you're doing. I wish everybody was playing like you." So I think just having that cosign from not only the guy that's probably the face of your franchise going forward, but as well as the guy that is the defensive line coach in Robbie Leonard, I think that may win the day for Matthew Butler, and I think he'll make it over everybody else.
So real quick, Chris, before I throw it over to you, Jeffrey Champion says you'd like to trade for Aziz. I'm not even try the last name. Honestly, I don't know much about I don't know much about the kid. Do you guys have a thought on that?
I think he's a D end. I forgot what school he went to, but like we had some interest. Like, there are a lot of people that had interest in drafting him when he came out. I don't remember what school he came out of, but yeah, he's an end. He's a twitchier guy from what I recall, but I don't know if we do that this late in the process. Honestly, we'll probably look at the waiver wires.
All right, so Chris, hey, any depth piece in that D tackle room that you would want to add to this rotation?
I'm the wrong one to ask about this, man. I call them the three stooges, man. Byron Young, Matthew Butler, and Nesta. And crazy thing, I really wanted Nesta to do well. Matthew Butler, I just wasn't a fan of. I just like I told everyone, that year that we drafted him, that's the year we got him and Neil Farrell, and Neil Farrell's over at the Chiefs, and we traded him away. I was like, we traded the wrong guy away, man. Now Neil Farrell is he's backing up Chris Jones, and he got snaps in the Super Bowl and all that. But I just never really was into Matthew Butler, even when we got him out of Tennessee, wasn't that big on him. Byron Young, I'm not big on him either, man. But I guess if I had to take one of the three, sheesh, I don't even know. I really don't know. I mean, honestly, I would almost like to roll the dice and see what else is out there. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna put no dot next. In fact, put a red dot next to all three because they're not. I mean, seriously, like it just they don't. I mean, at least Nesta has the drive. You know, you can see Nesta. He has a motor. He just hasn't been playing well. But like Byron Young and Matthew Butler, like I've seen them take plays off, and it's not like you're in that much. You can't be taking plays off. And then there's also kind of like attitude. Well, I don't know if it was attitude issues, but it was just like, you know, did he really want to play? You know, did Matthew Butler and Byron Young? I mean, it's almost like there's passion, you know, issues. Like, do you love ball? We can't have that. You know, when you got Max and Christian Wilkins out there, some guys will leave it all on the field. So anyone that doesn't have that same type of mentality, you know, it's a addition by subtraction, man.
And so for me, and this is kind of what I would say is because we're not sold, right? Byron Young, not sold. Matthew Butler showed flashes against the 49ers. Great. Marco McCall's out. Nesta Jade Silvera. I don't think that he makes this 53. I think Tyree Wilson's going to find himself rotating in the interior. But you don't take another depth piece because, one, I don't know if anybody flashed enough to solidify themselves, and it opens up another spot for us to bring in possibly another linebacker. It helps us keep maybe another corner where I think we saw more flashes out of the linebacker depth position. We saw more flashes at some of the cornerback position. And because of the way that our defense is run, right? Patrick Graham likes to run a lot of 4-2-5. That means we need possibly another nickel corner. We need more corners, possibly allows us to keep another safety. I think because we're going to see Tyree Wilson rotate a little bit more on the inside, I don't think we keep another defensive tackle. I think Adam Butler is going to be that lone depth piece at the defensive tackle position, and we're going to see Tyree Wilson rotate on the interior, which leaves us more flexibility to bring on another linebacker or bring on another corner or safety if we want to. So I don't think we put a blue dot next to any of these guys. We kind of keep it as is. So do we all kind of agree?
I mean, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with that.
So then after that, let's have fun because I think the linebacker position is even more interesting.
Oh yeah.
As long as
that oop to severe, the oop's yours, man.
So let's first talk about
Hollywood severe for this one.
Yeah, before we get to Severe's board, let's talk about
where's my red hat at?
Let's talk about the outside linebacker position, right? Obviously got Divine Diablo, but man, in my opinion, Luke Masterson just looked really bad in the offseason or in the preseason. Kanai Malga showed flashes, but don't know if he did enough in order to kind of really make a case. But I think we can all agree on Mark Gainer,
yes,
he just showed up and he showed out. I don't know how he doesn't make this 53-man roster, especially not only because of how he played in the field,
I can tell you
his special team work. His special team work as well. So let me know, Severe, what are your thoughts on – don't look at this name, okay? Severe, what are your thoughts on the outside linebacker position?
Focus, man.
Out of these three, if we can keep one, really, I mean, who do you keep?
Look, I think the Luke Masterson experiment is over. I think you know it was a good story while it lasted. You know, undersized linebacker. I want to say he was a UDFA. You know, makes the squad. Yeah. He's high energy guy, but he's like 6'2", like 230. So like, I think he's like 225 or something like that. Like he's a safety. Basically, he's a safety playing linebacker. And even with that, you know, he wasn't the most athletic, most twitchy of guy. He was a guy getting by on instincts and smarts. And while that will help you in the league, you know, at the end of the day, you know, like it's not always about X's and O's. A lot of times it's about Jesse's and Joe's. And to quote our old general manager, Amari Gainer is a football playing Jesse. So I think he's a guy that, I think he has to make this squad, man. He has to make this squad. I think last game he had 12 tackles, 10 solo. And a lot of that time he was playing against the San Francisco 49er ones. I think he's flashed in every opportunity he's had. He had that the pass breakup against the Vikings. We seen him coming downhill, smacking stuff. We also talk about depth. At other positions, he's a guy. If I recall correctly, I believe it was at Florida State, is where he was playing. He's playing edge, so he's a guy that does have some experience rushing the passer. He's a guy that you spoke about when we first picked him up as UDFA at 805. I remember you talking about him, and I went to go look into him, and he was the guy that I think he has a good pedigree. When you're at Florida State, and then you go over and you play well at North Carolina as well. I think that says a lot about you as a player. So he's a guy that I think should be a lock to make this roster.
Yeah, I was just kind of chiming real quick. I was high on him because of what he did at Florida State. He kind of came on my radar. And one of the things I wanted the Raiders to do, and this was this is right when we drafted him, I wanted them to move because he transferred to North Carolina, and then they put him at the edge rushing position. I wanted the Raiders to pick him up as UDFA and then move him back to linebacker, which they did, because that's where he excelled at Florida State. He was going to be one of the better inside linebackers at Florida State, but then he transferred over. So
yeah,
I'm very happy to see that he's producing the way he is. So, Chris, what's your thoughts between Luke Masterson, Kai Malga, and Mari? I mean, is Mari Gainer the only guy? Do we let Luke Masterson walk? What's your thoughts? Oh, Chris, I lose you.
No, I'm back.
Sure
I'm back.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah,
cool. What's your thoughts?
He's a documented Masterson hater, so you don't even have to ask him about Luke.
I said Luke Masterson, and Chris just clicked out.
It's documented.
Yeah. Hey, my bad.
So
should I get ready for Severe to click out if I mention Tommy?
Oh yeah.
No. I ain't clicking out at all.
You're gonna be ready for it.
You can give me the solo screen on that one if you want to.
I like it.
Okay, so what are we on? Just my thoughts on Masterson.
Just obviously, I think it's collective. I put the blue dot. I think Amari Gainer's. We got to lock him up, but
absolutely.
do we let go of Luke Masterson in order to make the room?
No, for sure. Everyone knows I've not really ever been too big on Masterson. People were laughing at me because I think last year I wanted to keep Curtis Bolton over him. And then I also what was the other linebacker we had at UDFA, Drake Johnson or something. I even liked him over Masterson. So it's time to move on from him. And then what's it? Mwalga, or however you say his name is.
Can I Malga?
Yeah, I saw him. He was running around. He was he was around the ball. I saw he almost had a pass breakup. But I just don't think there's no room on the team for him. So definitely Amari Gainer for sure.
So the one thing I'll ask, and chat, let me know, because I understand it's labeled two different positions, but I think that Amari Burney showed flashes this preseason. And if we were to basically let Luke Masterson go, because the way that we run our defense, they both basically play inside linebacker, right? Luke Masterson, Divine Diablo, they might find themselves playing outside a little bit, but Amari Burney played outside in the preseason a little bit and looked extremely good. I would take a chance at possibly letting Luke Masterson go and allowing Amari Burney to stay on this roster, just because the flashes that he showed this preseason, where Luke Masterson, in my opinion, I mean, he looked bad. There's no other way of putting it. He was provided the opportunity, and he just did not flash whatsoever. I liked him last year because of the flashes that he showed, but man, I just think he just regressed, unfortunately. And I think Amari Burney kind of proved that he still can be a viable linebacker. Again, as a depth piece, we're not talking starter. Maybe he'll get, maybe a handful of snaps a game, possibly. So let's do this. Let's keep the blue dot at Amari Gainer. Let's talk middle linebacker position. If I could highlight somebody on the screen, I'll do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
So obviously Robert Spillane is the man. I think Tommy Eichenberg makes it only because we did draft him. I don't know if Tom Telesco would let that happen. We can always agree to disagree. But God, Severe, just talk on what you want to about this, because again, I think Amari Burney deserves a chance, but that would be at obviously cutting Luke Masterson, which we might do. But Severe, go for it. What are your thoughts on who makes this 53-man roster in that middle linebacker room?
So when we're evaluating these players, right? Every player of the 90 men that we have on this team, all of them we've seen play in the NFL at some point, right? Outside of Jackson Powers Johnson. All of these other guys we've seen play in the league. So we kind of know what they can and what they can't do. Whatever you might think about Brandon Faison, right? He's a guy that was legit in the competition to be our number 2 corner. And at one point, some people said was ahead in that competition. So he's a guy that has talent. Everybody wants to get rid of him. But then we have a 5th round linebacker that was taken over a player who I felt was more deserving of that pick. We ain't talking about that because now that guy is causing a controversy of his own in a very humid southern state. But we'll talk about that later. So we're talking about a guy that is supposed to be all about ball, right? All about ball. And then he misses his first preseason game. Well, okay. He misses his first preseason game. Has something going on, personal reasons. Then he misses game number 2. And all of a sudden it's a leg injury. And then when he would have been able to play just about the entire game, preseason game number 3, he's still not there. So you want to tell me that a guy like Bernie, who we held out of the last game, who I think that's more indicative of a guy that's probably a lock for this roster, and a guy like Gaynor, who has flashed every single opportunity he's gotten, who I think should make this roster, we're going to keep a guy like Eichenberg over them? No. I'm not saying we cut him, but I'm saying he starts the season either on PUP or we IR him right now and he spends the entire season on IR, and we put people on the field that are actually there, who actually displayed they want to play football on the actual football field and not just on the practice field. I mean, that's a novel thought, right? If you're somebody that's all about football, you would think that when it's time to play actual football and hit somebody else that's not your own team, like you would be raring to go. But all of a sudden now you have a personal reason why you can't be there, and then that personal reason changes to a leg injury. Maybe he tweaked something in practice this around the same time Devontae did. Maybe that happened.
Chris, I'll hand off to you. But the one thing I love about the chat, hey, shout out to the chat again, guys. If you can, hit that like button, go to all 3 channels, make sure you subscribe. But I love the chat because as much as we have moved on to linebackers and we're far past DNs, we're still talking crap about Tyree Wilson. It is flowing. The Tyree Wilson talk just continues to flow.
I finally made it. Chris, did you see the comment from Myra G?
Dog, you're a hashtag, bro. You are a hashtag.
This one?
You made it.
Oh my God.
You made it.
You dream about these moments.
You worked hard, young man. You worked hard to become a hashtag.
First off, I like to thank God because without him, none of this is possible.
It's like when a city gets a Walmart or Costco, man. You made it. You made the hashtag. I love it. All right. So, Severe, you went on your rant about your boy, Tommy Eichenberg. That
was kind of light, though. Honestly, I expected more. That was kind of light.
I was gonna go in on him, man, but I kind of after I talked about his grandma, man, I think I'm I'll take it
easy. Chris, before you go after it, Dan Tessier, I mean, we carry 5 linebackers. Masterson will be the one outside looking in. Which you look at this roster, I can't disagree. Almost, you got Divine Diablo, Robert Spillane,
4. I agree.
Tommy Eichenberg, Amari Gaynor. If we take 5, yeah, in my opinion, it's between Luke Masterson and Amari Burney. So, Chris, what do you think? Who do you think actually makes this 53? If those 4 we already make the 53, and we're only going to keep one more, who would you choose?
Yeah, to me, it's a slam dunk, man. And again, and you know that I'm not biased about anything because I was very critical of Amari Burney. So, being as objective as possible, at least I see the progression in Bernie. I just have not seen the progression in Masterson. In fact, I saw a regression. And Bernie, he's athletic. That's one thing about him. Like, he at least has the athletic ability. What I've always worried about him was just him not being able to be physical enough to be in the NFL, and he's showing that at least he's willing. So no, I definitely agree with that comment. Give me Diablo, Spillane, Eichenberg, Bernie, and Gaynor. That's my 5.
Eichenberg.
Yeah,
Eichenberg, man.
Eichenberg will be selling extended warranties.
Shout out to Fear Raider. Hey, he's all about Eichenberg. We got to see him on the field.
I got Byron getting cut though. So I mean, like, you want Eichenberg getting cut.
We got to see him on the field at the end of the day. I'm gonna put a blue dot next to Amari Bernie.
Yeah.
Okay, and that basically puts Luke Masterson on the chopping block, which I don't disagree. I can't disagree with that. So let's talk about corners.
Get to the DBs, baby, the DBs.
And this is again another tough one. And so I threw down blue dots. Obviously, Nate Hobbs, lock. Jacorian Bennett, lock. Jack Jones, lock. DeCamion Richardson, lock, because he was our 4th rounder. I think he makes it no matter what. Unfortunately, Will Governor was waived.
It's tough.
Would like to see him put on the practice squad. I was high on MJ Devonshire when we drafted him, but honestly, I'm not sure if he's a lock. There was plays that I saw with him against the 49ers, which I wish he would have excelled, because when you're going against the 49ers, yes, they played a lot of their starters, but MJ Devonshire, he played more into the 3rd, even into the 4th quarter, and he's still just not attaching like I want to see him do. So I don't know if he's a lock, and he's a 7th rounder. 7th rounders aren't always a lock.
No.
So, one thing I will say is, can we agree? My opinion, chat, let us know. I think Brandon Faison's gone. I don't see how we keep him, in my opinion. I understand he's a veteran.
He needs to be gone.
But it's just nothing but injury after injury. He basically spent the majority, almost all of last year on the IR. He's barely played at all in this preseason, if at all. And the best ability is availability. And he's just not there. So I think that Brandon Faison just does not make this squad. When we talk about some of the depth, Chris, who do you think? Do you think if we keep another corner on here, and I don't know if we keep 2, to be dead honest with you, do you think we keep 1, possibly 2 corners in this cornerback room?
Oh, man. So that's the thing. In a passing league, we're going to need more depth. You're right. Brandon Faison, I'm not keeping him. I don't care about the veteran presence. I don't care about none of that. It's still pissing me off. He makes $3.25 million. I'm not even going to say who we could have gave that money to, so I'm not even going to go into that. But yeah, so stop it. but yeah, Faison's going. I like Sam Webb, honestly. I've liked him the last few years. Devonshire, can't say I'm super big on him. I really didn't know much about him in college. I know Severe's he was high on him, but he hasn't showed me nothing as of yet. And honestly, I really liked what Wu brought to the table over Devonshire, but I would say out of everyone that's left over, I would say Sam Webb will have a spot. And then this may be a situation where I may try to put Devonshire on the practice squad, but then I'll also be looking at other teams' cuts and see who's out there. And I'd also consider seriously looking at another veteran that's going to be available to help that cornerback room.
So, chat, let us know. Is there a veteran corner either in free agency or that you possibly would want to trade for to add to this cornerback room? One of the things that I'll say is when it comes to the cornerback room, you got MJ Devonshire that I don't know if he's a lock. I actually think Sam Webb makes this team. He was the one that he looked really good yesterday. Again, it's against some number 2s, possibly number 3s, but he's the one that broke up that quick slant. Yeah. Chris Smith picked it off. He played it perfectly. Sam Webb, it's his second year
third.
I actually think his third year. And so he brings that veteran presence a little bit, which is going to be great. And I think there's a chance MJ Devonshire possibly makes the practice squad. And I say this because there's all this talk of Isaiah Palomau possibly running at the nickel if needed. I don't think he'd be a good nickel. You can't be 6'4", 210 pounds guarding a slot receiver consistently. But I think they're possibly doing that to prepare just in case Nate Hobbs goes down. But I also thought that MJ Devonshire or Will Governor could have been one of those guys to pick up that nickel spot. But Isaiah Palomau's playing it. They're saying that he is working in that nickel position. So I don't know. I think, in my opinion, I'd like to see Sam Webb be a lock. I don't know if MJ Devonshire makes this squad, in my opinion. Even though I was high on him, I just don't know if he does, because there's more and more talk of Isaiah Palomau possibly playing that slot corner if needed. And so, and maybe we do pick up someone in free agency. One guy that I wouldn't be opposed to trading for is from the Eagles, played with Patrick Graham with the Giants.
Bradbury?
Yeah, Bradbury. Yeah.
Not to say that he would be a lock to start it all, but if you want to bring in a very cheap, possibly trade over for maybe a 6th round tops, kind of bring him back and have that veteran presence, that could be a name that we could look at if needed. Yeah. But I honestly think that Sam Webb, I'd like Sam Webb to kind of give that veteran presence, but I'm not sure if MJ Devonshire is a lock. So, how do you guys feel about this? Nate Hobbs, Corian Bennett, Jack Jones, DC, and Sam Webb to kind of start. How do you guys feel about that?
I know somebody that played college football in they played in the Philadelphia area, but they know some people that are writers out there, and they heard that MJ Devonshire was making the roster. This is what they heard from people. So like I said, this is like third-party information. So I don't know how reliable this information is, but this was something that was told to me yesterday, was that MJ Devonshire is going to be on the roster. I initially did not believe it until I saw Will Governor get cut, and then I was like, okay, maybe this is actually the case. We talk about Brandon Faison. Like I said, he's a guy that's played in the league before. He's been productive in the league. He's productive with us. You hear how Nate Hobbs speaks about him. You hear about how some other guys speak about him. They think he's a real talent at the cornerback position. I think his biggest Achilles heel is his availability. As Dan Tessier said, I think it's a situation where I think he probably does initially make the roster. And if he isn't, and then maybe we put him on temp IR again, or maybe he makes the initial roster. And if we can find another vet, then we get rid of him with the injury settlement, and he goes on his merry way. I do like Sam Webb. He's been a guy who I have liked for a while. But I think, we're kind of suffering from some recency bias, because, we talk about the nice pass breakup he had against the 49ers, but he also is a guy who got caught with his eyes in the backfield and man coverage, and the Vikings, they gassed us deep. So there's a little bit of recency bias there. But I think the real battle is between Brandon Faison and Sam Webb. I think Sam Webb does win it out, but I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Faison does end up on the roster, and then we replace him if we can find somebody better in free agency.
And that's the hard part about looking at this 53-man, right? Because there's what we would like to see happen, what we think should happen, versus is like with your boy Eichenberg. I mean, there's things that we want, that we think should happen, but it's there's also things that may happen. For example, like Eichenberg's going to make it because he was a 5th rounder. He's going to make this squad, whether it's I don't think it's going to be practice squad, but he's going to make this squad. So All right, so we got corners. We'll kind of keep it there. But again, do we not add another corner? Because when we talk about the safety room, and actually, before I jump, you got Space Beast saying that you got the Bucks are expected to release cornerback Keenan Isaac. Again, not too. I don't know much about Keenan Isaac, but that's a decent PFF grade. Do you guys know much about Keenan Isaac?
I don't, to be honest.
No. And then you got OJ Raider. He's basically saying that Ernest Jones, linebacker, is seeking a trade.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if we would trade for another linebacker.
Give me 1 second.
I don't know if we would trade for another linebacker, but it's definitely interesting. It's going to be interesting to watch out for. And this was interesting. Fear Raider, he says if Lattimore becomes available, that's one guy that I was willing to trade for.
Me too.
This
Me
was
too.
prior to the draft.
Me too.
The Saints have some solid corners over there. He could be the odd one out a little bit, and they got to free up some cap space. The Saints are in cap hell for a little bit. They got to move some money around, some pieces around. If Lattimore were to become available, would the Saints take maybe like a 4th round for him? Chris, what are your thoughts on Lattimore?
Yeah, no, I would definitely be big.
We got the cap space for it, so
we do, and I think for the role he would play for us, I think it would be perfect. I because he still has some good ball left in him. I don't think he doesn't have to be the superhero over here. We still get some good reps from him. I still think he can lock down most guys. So especially with our defensive line. So some shortcomings that he has will be kind of covered up with the Max Crosby's of the world and Christian Wilkins. So I'd be open. I definitely be open to it for sure. Especially because I think we're gonna have to be flexible because I just don't know how healthy Nate Hobbs will be. I hate to say it, and I almost put him in that same category as Diablo, man. It's like if they can stay on the field, but you always hear about them getting nicked up here and there, and it gets a little frustrating at times.
I'm with you, and Severe. We just talked about, we had someone comment about possibly bringing in Lattimore from the Saints.
Yeah, man, I'm good on that. Come on, he's another guy. He's another guy that's injured all the time as well. I mean, he's expensive, true. He's older, and he's injured all the time. So I mean,
I just don't know how expensive
he can play though.
But he can play.
Yeah, he can play. Like Brandon Faison, Brandon Faison gets hurt, and he's not that good, man. Even with us, like I said, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, because the thing I will say is that we're worried about the slot, and I know they're talking about Isaiah Palomar being down there. Wait, I mean, I think like maybe
I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah, I think in a big nickel situation where it's like that it's 3 safeties on the field, I can see that. But I can't see him playing in as a true slot. When he was at TCU, Trevon Merrick, that is something he did often. Actually, he is a guy that often came down and he did cover people in the slot. But even him, like I really can't see him do that with any real regularity. So that's why I say Devonshire. I think he is a guy that even though at Pitt he was more of a boundary corner, if they see him as a slot now, I think that's kind of how he will make this roster.
So, John Parker, you're saying, does anybody in the chat? No, we did not fix the front line. What do you mean by that? And I'm looking kind of down. Front line, as in the front 4 on the defensive line. Let me know kind of what you mean by that. Again, shout out to everybody in the chat. I appreciate you guys running through. Make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe to all the channels. Again, Chris at Protect the Shield podcast. And then you got the Severe Raider. Go check those guys out. If you're not on their channel, go check them out. Make sure you subscribe. Always throwing great content out there. Cool Kev. He says Lattimore 5 years too late. I mean, you're not wrong. You know, he's not at the peak of his career, but again, for a depth piece, possibly the late round, if we can get him for cheap, it's the right situation. Based on what we currently have, I wouldn't be mad at it if the situation was right. And then Jonathan Studios, you're right. I mean, we got I think it's currently the 5th, 6th most cap space. We got some money to move around. Obviously, we're gonna re-sign some of our own players. We're preparing for that. You got to be prepared for any injuries that possibly happen throughout the season. But we got a lot of cap space to play with. That's for sure. Shout out to everybody in the chat. And so let's talk about safeties. I think without question, Trayvon Moore, Isaiah Palomal, they're going to make it. You know, we'll kind of lump these all guys together, honestly, because you got Marcus Epps, free safeties, strong safeties. You know, Chris Smith looked like he did a pretty good job to try to make a statement to possibly make this team against the 49ers. Trey Taylor, our 7th rounder. And then you got Jaden Grant. That's one guy. Did not look very good that first preseason game. But he looked good in the run.
Yeah.
He looked good in the run against the 49ers. But I'll tell you right now, again, it's just me breaking down the film that I do. Unfortunately, Jaden Grant, I think, is extremely suspect in the passing game.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of plays that he just was completely out of position. His instincts aren't there. He's kind of like a robot. There was a cover 3 situation where he was playing safety. There was no second receiver to his side, and he basically just jumped into the flats as the safety. The corner took deep. He just jumped into the flats. And he's basically you're guarding grass, and when you're guarding grass, you're not guarding anybody. Exactly. And that was actually the very first offensive play for the 49ers, and they hit Debo over to MJ Devonshire's side for a deep pass up the sideline. And you got Jaden Grant just jumping in the flats, and there's nobody there. There's not a tight end threat, a running back threat. There was nothing there. And he just kind of plays like a robot a little bit when it comes to the passing game. And so, Chris, I'll throw this to you first. If we keep another safety, whether it be a free safety or strong safety, I honestly believe, in my opinion, I don't know if we keep 2. What are your thoughts on the safety room? Do we keep 2? Do we keep 1? And who do you think we keep?
Yeah, definitely not Jaden Grant. He made a couple plays this last game, but just his pursuit angles were terrible. Just pursuit angles, and even just when he came up to fill a gap or something. I mean, he was not somebody that I'd feel comfortable being the last line of defense. So Chris Smith, I think he played pretty well this last game. I was not a big fan of him, still not the biggest fan of him. But with Trey Taylor being injured, I'm sure we'll probably still keep him because I think of the upside there. Probably have to put him on, IR or whatever, to be able to stash him away. So, but I'm willing to take a flyer on Chris Smith because I think Palomal is going to be kind of all over the place. He'll be the main guy that comes in on the 3 safety sets and, be able to guard, hopefully he can help guard some of those bigger tight ends and things like that. So, but I will put Chris Smith in there for special teams reasons as well.
All right. Before we get in, Helen, I don't know if I've ever seen you, if you subscribe to, or if you're a subscriber to Chris's or Severe's, but I mean, you're coming in strong with the comments. I appreciate you coming in. You keep flowing with them, and if you get a chance after we're done, go back. We definitely talked about the second team unit when it comes to the D-tackle situation. We definitely touched on that. So after this, we're done. Make sure you go back and take a look at that because we definitely dove into that. Severe, what's your thought on this safety room and how you think it's going to play out?
Yeah, man, I think you have it about right. I think Chris Smith is the guy that makes the roster. I think he has, of all the, he's not the guy that's going to come up and hit somebody in the run game. I think that's Jaden Grant's game. He did that even at Oregon State. But Jaden Grant is, when people talk about Chris Smith having questionable athleticism, I think Jaden Grant ran like a 4.7 at 40. So he's like, No, he's a little bit of a bigger guy. He is a thumper. And I know people have been saying some good things about him. But I think that Chris Smith is more that post safety. He's more of a guy that is going to be a ball hawk. Even at Georgia, he's a guy that was always around the ball. He was a team leader. So I think that's
Yeah,
where he
captain.
kind of separates himself from everybody else inside the fact that he is an actual true post safety. So but I do think they like Jaden Grant, man. And I think Jaden Grant does bring some special teams ability. I think even more so than Chris Smith. So I can see a situation where they might keep Jaden Grant, but for the time being, I'm gonna roll with Chris Smith.
So, I agree. Like, I think Chris Smith did enough this last game to really show you got to. When you show flashes like that, sometimes that third year is where you can really peak. That's the one thing is that a lot of people need to understand is it does take some time. He's still inexpensive to kind of play behind Marcus Epps, Trey Taylor. Now, guys, we're hearing in the chat a little bit that Trey Taylor might need to have knee surgery. Am I hearing that right? Are we hearing this?
I did see him post on Instagram maybe a week or two ago that he hurt his knee.
Yeah,
I didn't hear anything about surgery though.
Okay. Yeah, let us know if we can confirm this a little bit because obviously that'll switch things around. But let's do this, okay? Let's say Jaden Grant does make the squad. I personally don't think he will. Again, he's so suspect in the passing game. Or actually, I mean, let's do this. Let's get Chris Smith on here. Let's get Trey Taylor. I think Trey Taylor does make the squad. What are you guys opposed to Trey Taylor having a blue dot?
I'm not opposed to that. No.
I'm with Trey Taylor. I was going to be opposed to Jaden Grant getting one though.
I'm with you. Okay, so let's do this. This is where it gets interesting.
Draw the line in the sand somewhere.
I'm with you. And so let's do this. We're gonna add this up real quick. So chat, bear with us. We're gonna see where we're at. Remember, we got our kickers. We got AJ Cole down below. AJ Cole, Daniel Carlson, Jacob Bobenmeyer. Right. So that's 3. Yeah. We got David Algoa, the international pathway program player. So we can actually hold 54. We got to get to 53 with starting offense, starting defense. So this is where we're at. We got 1, 2, 3.
He said Taylor done for the season. That's what Los Angeles Raiders said. That's crazy.
You would know.
So we got 25. If that's true, do we want to consider that? Do we want to basically take him off here if that's true?
I thought we had 20. Didn't we have 26 on okay, I'm sorry. You talking about defense? Never mind. Sorry.
Yes, well, on offense, we got 25 so far.
Okay. And then 26 on defense. Is that what you said?
So we got 25 on offense. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 23 on the defensive side.
Okay. So what's that?
That takes us to 48. We actually can. We're doing damn good, boys.
And you also
48.
You also added what's his name? You added the international player on that too.
Yeah,
I did.
So we have 6 spots available.
No, so we're at 48.
Plus our 3. So we have 3 spots available.
We got 3 spots available. We got 3 spots available. So let's just recap. So everybody in the chat, you guys are going to see kind of where we're at right now. Okay. Receiver wise, Devontae Adams, Tyreek McAllister. We got Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, DJ Turner. You see the offensive linemen, our starting 5, our backups, Andres Pete, Cody Whitehair backup, Jordan Meredith, DJ Glaze, tight ends. We only kept 1 extra, Harrison Bryant. We got 3 quarterbacks. We got our 4 running backs. That's including Amir Abdullah.
Yes.
So do we keep Wilkerson? Because that adds that extra height at receiver if someone were to go down. We talked about it before where Tyreek McAllister, he's kind of the same thing as Trey Tucker, DJ Turner.
So I think if we open up that question, in one more spot, do my personal opinion, if it was me, if it's between Christian Wilkerson and Ramel Keaton, I'm keeping Ramel Keaton in that situation. I think he offers that same height aspect, but I think he offers you more upside, and he's much younger. So of the two, I'm keeping Ramel Keaton if we're going there. I know he had that he's had some bad drops, but I think his ceiling, and we kind of saw what he was able to do on that last drive. He dominated on that last drive. So I think that if I'm going with another bigger body receiver, I personally I'm choosing Ramel Keaton over Christian Wilkerson. They might go with a vet, prefer to go with a vet, especially with younger guys like Trey Tucker and DJ Turner. But I just think that what I saw out of Ramel Keaton at that last drive, no, is recency bias, I know, but I was very impressed.
So, chat, let us know, Christian Wilkerson and Ramel Keaton. Chris, do you think? Because again, we can pick up. We got 3 spots left, and we're gonna spread that between offense and defense.
Ooh, okay. I gotta say, man, I'm still not too impressed with Wilkerson, man. I do like the take about Ramel Keaton. Let's see, Zach Gentry's down there.
Keep in mind, we kept all 4 running backs, so we're good there. I don't think there are any more running backs.
Okay, wow, okay, we already kept all 4. I was surprised.
Yeah, I was about to say you got and we got McAllister.
I mean, if we need somebody that can squad, we got Will Putnam in there. He's out there throwing hands.
So let's do this though.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. So we got 3 spots. Let's choose one which would be more important. In my opinion, that's tough because I think it would. Oh no, I mean we chose. Sorry, we kept 2 tight ends.
Yeah, but say because you said 1. Yeah, we got father. We decided fathering him too. So that's why I was like, I don't know who else on offense I necessarily keep, man, unless I did do Ramel Keaton. But then again, I got to think about I got to think about special teams. I can't see Keaton playing special teams, whereas Wilkerson at least was out there for special teams.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. That's very true.
Okay, so we got 3 players left. We can put a green dot next to Christian Wilkerson. We'll go back after we go through the defense. Do we keep another tight end?
No, we got 4. I mean, nah, man. I think
good with 4.
I originally thought maybe 5, but I think 4. I think 4 we're good with 4.
The only thing I would add to a tight end is because we're always going to run basically 2, possibly 3 tight end sets. Zach Gentry offers that ability to be that run blocker without question. Or Cole Fotheringham, kind of suspect. Harrison Bryant isn't necessarily that run blocking tight end. So, in my opinion, let's put a green dot here and we can come back. Just knowing that we'll kind of mess around with this for a second. Anything on the offensive line? I think we're good offensive line. I like my guy Andrew Coker, but I don't think he's going to make it.
Yeah.
You know what though? I was laughing at cause I know everybody kind of the urban legend of Dalton Wagner, but there was a couple plays Dalton was getting after it, man. He was pulling in. I think Lauby ran into him or Sincere ran into him or something, but his big butt was pulling, man. He was moving.
I agree. Dalton Wagner did look good. I was actually comparing them both because Dalton Wagner and Andrew Coker were playing together at the same time, so I kept watching them just to see. I think Coker ended up being just more consistent, but it wasn't Wagner. There was only a couple times where Wagner actually had to pull a little bit to get out. There was a couple times where he had to get to a linebacker, and he just couldn't get there. He was chasing, and so. But I think they both did fairly well. Okay, Christian Wilkerson, Zach Gentry. Chat, let us know if there's anybody else you see on that screen offensively you think we can add. Because again, we got 3 players left. We got 2 green dots. We got 1 more for the defense. We got some people saying Zach Gentry. Helen, you got Zach Gentry. Raider Pete, you like
We
that?
probably
Britton
need to get
Brown
one
and
of the Three
McCormick,
Stooges. We probably gotta get one of the Three Stooges, man.
the D tackles. Lobby
One of the
making it.
three, man.
I thought we already had one.
SoCal Sal.
I thought we had one of them already. We didn't.
Nah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
because
We
I
gotta get
figured that
we gotta
I
get one.
figured that if
Tyree, he was talking about moving Tyree inside.
Yeah, we gotta get one.
Tyree's gonna get more. I think if Tyree's gonna get more work on the inside, I just don't know. Again, that was after we wanted to pick more. We wanted to have a little bit more room for maybe for a linebacker, possibly a corner. We weren't really sold on the interior depth of this defensive line. You know, if Tyree Wilson gets more reps on the inside, that might be our depth with Adam Butler, to be honest with you.
Do we have to have 53, or can we keep some spots open and sign some? Or I forgot what the rule was. Like, do we have to have, or can we be under?
We can
You guys know?
keep it 3, but we can always cut the guys later, though. I mean, like we're not wedded to them. We're not wedded to anybody.
Okay.
So let's take a look at the defensive ends. Again, I like Ellerson Smith. I'm a big Ellison Smith fan based on the first 2 preseason games where he flashed. In this last one, I liked what he did, especially if Tyree Wilson finds himself possibly moving to the inside. I like Ellerson Smith, but we could always use another body on the inside. Matthew Butler had a really good game against the 49ers. You know, he showed flashes. Again, very inconsistent. But if we want more depth on the interior D line, is there somebody you're looking at? Chris, you kind of talked about the Three Stooges. What's your take?
The lesser of 3 evils, man. Give me Butler, I guess, man. I don't know.
So again, if you're, this is my thing.
Straws,
if you're not sold, I'm telling you, I do like Ellerson Smith because he also rotated on the inside as well and did well. Yes, he's going against number 2s, number 3s.
He's 245.
245.
I think that's what you said, right? He's 245.
Yeah, it's like 245, 250.
Yeah.
But if you watch him play on the inside, he had a push. I mean, it wasn't suspect at all. I mean, he manhandled his way kind of on that inside a little bit. So,
but he was going against plumbers and electricians.
Again, I'm with you. Second and third string, I get it. But look, again, when you talk about Ellerson Smith or Charles Snowden, you're talking about a guy that's going to get maybe 2 to 5 snaps a game. So you want somebody that's going to be at least somewhat consistent, maybe a little bit versatile, but he also made tackles on special teams. He played on the inside interior as kind of like the guard position on the punt team, and he got down there and made a tackle with Amari Gaynor. You know, so he also flashed in the special team side as well. And at the end of the third, into the fourth quarter, he had that play coming off the edge on 3rd and short where he got off that ball. And he got, I wish I could pick up the all 22 of that play. I mean, he was impressive. So, again, we're talking about a guy that's going to get 3 to 5 snaps.
Wasn't he one of the guys? I want to say it was Ellerson Smith. It might have been Stone. But he was one of the guys that was getting cooked against the Cowboys. And it was getting just manhandled. I want to say, was that?
Rod Stone. I think that was Stone.
Maybe it was Stone.
It may have been. I don't know.
It's one of those guys that was getting like destroyed, and I was like, "This is embarrassing." It's like, yeah, his mom is watching this, man. Is he gonna do this man like this?
This is tough because
maybe it was Stone though. Maybe it was Stone.
To Helen's point, AP did say guys that didn't play are basically a lock to make this roster, which is really hard to believe with some of the names that didn't play. But I mean, again, it's so hard because when you make this evaluation of the 53, you're teetering whether or not I think they should make it versus what we truly think will happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's tough. But if we're not sold 100% on someone on the interior, let's look at the linebackers.
Bernie didn't play either, though. I think they're talking about Bernie, that they're matching making it with Bernie. Bernie didn't play either, if I recall correctly.
He didn't. I didn't see him out there at all.
So, I mean, but by that logic, I mean, it would be Luke Masterson making it over Gaynor, and that would be a travesty.
We technically got one green dot left.
That would be the worst thing I've seen since Madam Web. It'd be that bad. It'd be that bad.
So, and Raider Zach, we are getting to 54. We were at 51. We could add 3 more because of the international players. So, adding 3 more is going to get us to 54 with David Ogoa on the locked in. So, because we're not 100% sold on another depth piece on the interior side, maybe even on the edge side. Do we?
Ellison Smith was so he played with Patrick Graham before. I didn't realize that.
No, I thought he came from Minnesota originally, I believe. I don't know if he was with Patrick Graham before that. Is that someone in the chat, or are you seeing?
Yeah, Jonathan Studios, the very last comment.
So
one at the very bottom.
So
see Jonathan.
So like you have another Brandon Faison on your hands here. You talk about Brandon Faison. Come on, dog.
No, it don't matter because again, you're getting like 3 to 5 snaps a game.
I've seen the whole season work for Brandon Faison. This dude.
So, well, let's do this. If we look at the linebacker position, again, even if Amari Gainer beats out Luke Masterson could very well be a decent special teams player. And I know that our special teams coach has talked about putting a lot of linebackers on the kickoff team with the new kickoff rules. And so do we want to put a green dot next to Luke Masterson? Because I think there's a chance that he does make this. If there's another spot, we'll take a look at corners and safeties. But do we want to put a green dot next to him for the time being?
I can see him making it.
I can too. Chris, you good with at least a red dot on Luke right now?
So how many do we have left after that?
That's it.
So we're
so you said you said green dot on Luke?
On Luke Masterson. We'll talk. We'll look at corners and safeties, and we can move it, but we'll put it there for now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm okay with it, I guess. I mean, to be honest, I'd almost rather keep.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I said, just looking at it, I'd rather have Faison than Masterson, man. I think he'll provide. See, I don't know.
So, Helen's saying Gainer making it over Bernie. That's
but by that same logic, she said Masterson. The whole reason, her whole logic for Masterson making it is because Masterson
he didn't play.
But if Bernie didn't play either, now she's saying Gainer gonna make it. It don't make no sense. The math ain't math in Helen. All right,
Helen, I love it. But this is what you're gonna get when you come in this chat. We go speak our pieces.
We remember.
Well. We love it. But yeah, it's so hard because again with Brandon Faison, if we take a look at the corners, right? It's hard because Brandon Faison is just injured. Your best ability is your availability, and he just doesn't play.
Yeah.
And I don't know
if
we have some younger talent, if we have some people that could truly help us, I would cut Brandon Faison and bring on Ellison Smith. Just because Ellison Smith showed flashes.
You're going to die on that. You're going to die on that hill. You're dying on
the time. I gotta. I need to throw a red flag on the field and issue a referee's challenge. Did we just not see my dude Franklin post that this dude Ellison Smith has been injured reserve every single year of his career? Every single year, this dude's been injured reserve, and now we're gonna keep him.
If he only, we're gonna go back to Jonathan Studios.
This show is sponsored by Ellison Smith.
If we only have him for 3 or 5 plays a game, it minimizes his injury chance. All right. That's what I'm gonna throw out there.
Man, I think he plays at a more physical position. And look, I'm not in favor of keep. Like I don't care. We get rid of Brandon Faison. I really don't care. If you look at just talent, so both guys are injured. You look at depth issues, I think we have more depth along the defensive line than we do in the cornerback room, in my opinion. And I think that as a talent, Brandon Faison is a more talented player than Ellison Smith. So I think if all things being equal, if it's between those two, I'm saying Brandon Faison is going to make it. Now, I'm perfectly fine with Sam Webb making it over Brandon Faison if we're just basing it on, what we saw this last preseason game and the fact that Brandon Faison is perpetually injured. He was injured all of last year. I think he only played maybe like the 4 final games, and he was solid in those 4 final games. But he was the guy that throughout most of the process before he was injured. Ironically, before he was injured, he was the guy that was locked in a heated battle with Jacorian Bennett. And Jacorian Bennett flashed on that first game against the Vikings. So if he showed that he was that good on the field, that lets me know that Faison was also out there making his share of plays. So if all things being equal, if it's between Ellerson Smith and Brandon Faison, bro, I'm going Brandon Faison. I'm going Brandon Faison that day.
And look, I feel you only because at the same time, we got Tyree Wilson that's still going to get reps at the edge position. You got Janarius Robinson that has played his ass off. He's done extremely well. And so do we need Ellerson Smith? I don't think we necessarily need him. But we could possibly, if Brandon Faison was available to play, we may need him at some point just as that veteran presence to possibly step in if injuries were to happen based on the rest of our depth. DC Richardson, he's a rookie. You don't know. Sam Webb, he's showing flashes, but we're not sold. MJ Devonshire, don't know if he's going to make it. Yeah, obviously, Will Governor was waived, and so possibly, I agree with you. If we were to take either one, maybe Brandon Faison does make this squad. The concern is just whether he's actually going to be there. But if we do put a green dot potentially next to Brandon Faison, I think Luke Masterson makes this squad over Brandon Faison. Is there anybody in the safety room that we would take over Luke Masterson?
Special teams too. I got to keep bringing that up. If it's
true what to say about Trey Taylor, we can take Trey Taylor off. But I don't know if Chris, if you can confirm it, or if 805 you can confirm it. Is it true that Trey Taylor is?
Yeah, I'd put it up there. Yeah, I'd have to confirm.
Yeah, I don't know. So okay, I mean, and my boy LA Raider 11, he was pretty adamant that surgery is going down. So
come from out under the rock. look who's here.
Raider Rebel. He's coming through. We got past the quarterbacks. Look, Raider Rebel, your boy's there. He made the team. Aiden O'Connell made the team. Is there anybody else in this safety or strong safety room that we think would get the green dot over maybe a Luke Masterson?
Man, I don't know.
I mean, how you feel about Devonshire then?
I mean, I think the guy I liked, but his play on the field wasn't that great. I didn't really hear a lot about him in camp, so I don't know how he performed in camp. Really didn't hear a lot about Luke Masterson either. So, I know what I'm willing to do this. Let's take that blue dot off Tommy Eichenberg and give it I think, I would think they would want. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, I heard from a guy that knows some people from Pennsylvania. They said that MJ Devonshire it's going to make the team. Like I said, that's a third party source, so I don't know how true that is.
All right, man. If it's true, it looks like Trey Taylor's out. So we'll roll with that, honestly. So that gives us an extra green dot because we got Zach Gentry to kind of be that offset blocking tight end, true blocking tight end. It's still, do we take five tight ends? That puts Christian Wilkerson in there. We got an extra dot that we can throw on here. So that's a tough. I mean, let's look at the chat. Chat, what do you think? Who's the last person? I might put next to MJ Devonshire.
Yeah. That one of the Stooges, man. I mean,
Yeah, I wouldn't be. Yeah, see, yeah, if it's
You
if
almost
between
got to put one student,
if it's
man.
between MJ Devonshire and one of the Three Stooges, now go ahead and run with Curly, man, and give it or go with Larry, give it to Larry. Matthew Butler, man, go give it to Matthew Butler.
Yeah, I'm
If
about to say probably out of the three, Matthew Butler.
yeah, I would give it to Matthew Butler.
Give it to Matthew Butler, but I mean, is that Matthew Butler over MJ Devonshire?
Yeah, man. I think with Jacorian, you got Jacorian, DeCamerion, Sam Webb. See, 4 corners though, man. I mean,
Knowing that Isaiah Palamau is also going to be working in with Nate Hobbs at that nickel, so we
yeah.
may not need
And
that
I think
extra
we're gonna play
body.
I think we're gonna play a lot of like 4-2-5 stuff. But see, that's the thing, we're gonna play a lot of 4-2-5 stuff though too. I think we're gonna be a lot of times
You need
only
that
have
extra.
And you know what's interesting is Patrick Graham started running a 5-man front
Yes,
this
he
entire
was
preseason.
he's running a 5-2-4, which is I've never seen him run that before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like the
So-
old like bear under what was that the bear under front? That was like bear under.
Yeah, it's a bear. Yeah.
So that's the green dot. That's our roster. So let's get. I mean, chat. Let's go through this real quick. I mean, we got our
In the 5-man front, I don't even think he had he didn't have Wilson in there.
It was
He didn't
crazy.
have Tyree in there, man.
He did.
No, he didn't.
He didn't.
He
got
didn't.
3D tackles. He had 3D
That's
tackles
crazy.
and Coons.
That's crazy. That's
Oh,
crazy,
man.
man.
I would. I know what you feel about them, Chris, but right now, I'm trading Tyree Wilson for a bag of Funyuns right now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm trading Tyree
Absolutely.
Wilson for a bag of Funyuns right now. And I don't even eat Funyuns.
Right now.
Trading him right now for a bag of Funyuns.
So let's do this. I mean, this is what it is. Receiver room: Devontae Adams, Christian Wilkerson, Tyreek McAllister. You got Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, DJ Turner. I think that's pretty solid. You got our
cool with
starting
that. 5.
Cody Whitehair is on there. Again, I'm not a big fan of it, but he's probably going to be the starter. Jax Powers Johnson. Andres Pete back at the tackle, along with DJ Glaze, Jordan Meredith to help out on the interior. Then we got 5 tight ends: Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers, Harrison Bryant, Cole Fotheringham. Again, we talked about it before, where we basically have 2 different style tight ends. Michael Mayer is more that run blocking tight end, can contribute in the passing game, but Brock Bowers can move all over the place, where if he goes down, Harrison Bryant, possibly Cole Fotheringham gets slotted in. But Cole Fotheringham can definitely help in special teams. We put Zach Gentry in there just so that we have that true blocking tight end, that big body if Michael Mayer were to go down. And then we got our quarterbacks: Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, Nathan Peterman. It was hard to kind of make the decision, but at the end of the day, we only put Nathan Peterman on there because of his experience with Luke Getsy's system. He's been there for 2 years. He's that extra quarterback, that extra coach in the quarterback room as well as on the field, and he's a perfectly fine third string quarterback. Carter Bradley will definitely go to the practice squad, and hopefully he doesn't get swooped up. We kept 4 running backs: Amir White, Alexander Madsen, Amir Abdullah, and Dylan Labe. That was a hard one, but at the same time, I think Amir Abdullah definitely helps with that veteran presence and is going to help out if Dylan Labe just doesn't pan out. We're all hoping for the best, but we just don't know how he is going to pan out based on what we saw in the preseason games. Let's jump to the defensive side. Obviously got Max, Tyree, Malcolm Koons, Janarius Robinson, David Algoa, the international pathway player. On the inside, John Jenkins, Christian Wilkins, and Adam Butler, as well as Matthew Butler to rotate through. Again, Patrick Graham running a little bit of that 5-man front that we might need to see a little more rotation and have extra bodies on the interior. But that D-line depth was hard to kind of solidify on. Our linebackers, we got Divine Diablo, Robert Spillane backing them up, Luke Masterson, Amari Gaynor. One of the surprises in preseason, just absolutely balled out this preseason. And then we got Amari Burney, and then our 5th rounder, Severe's boy, Tommy Eichenberg. So
he'll be on the pup. Going on the pup.
And at the cornerback position, we got Nate Hobbs in the nickel, Jacorian Bennett, Jack Jones, DC Richardson, our 4th rounder, as well as Sam Webb, just because the flashes that he showed this past preseason game, and he kind of holds that veteran presence. Then at the safety position, we got Trayvon Moore, Isaiah Palomalet's going to work in at that nickel position just in case Nate Hobbs does pop up some injuries. Marcus Epps and Chris Smith. Chris Smith just showed flashes this last preseason game, which I think helped him earn just one more chance to have a shot at this 53-man roster. And then obviously at the end, we got our special teams guys, AJ Cole, Daniel Carlson, and Jacob Bobenhoyer. So that sums it up. I know a lot of you guys weren't with us this entire time, but chat, let us know down below. What are your thoughts on our 53? How do you think we did? Give us a rate. Give us a rate 1 to 10. 1, you think we're absolute trash. We know nothing about football. And I got thick skin. I don't care. Let us know. 10, you think we knocked out the park.
I don't. Y'all better give me a 10. I don't. I'll pull up.
So, but guys, how do you feel? I mean, honestly, it wasn't easy. It was not easy to get down to that 53. I think at the end of the day, we saw a lot in that 49er game. Tyreek McAllister obviously made a name for himself. And then you got Amari Gaynor that just, shocked a lot of the Raider fan base. So it was good to see. So, Chris, real quick, how do you feel about our 53, man? If we went in with this roster, week 1, how would you feel?
Week 1, I'm okay because we play that bum hardball. But after that, we still got to tweak some stuff, man. I still want to go figure out some more depth at defensive tackle. One of the Stooges made it through, but he better not get comfortable. Look, Curly or Mo or whatever, don't get comfortable, man.
I tell you who better not get comfortable. You already know what time it is. I'm on his neck all season. Everything. And he false step. He false step, bro. I'm on. Not miss a tackle, bro. He take a false step in coverage. I'm on.
Like if Eichenberg misses one tackle,
one tackle,
live. He's going live.
Let him miss a tackle, bro. Let him miss a tackle. I'm sending that to all 32 teams. I'm making sure this man. You see this dude out here missing tackles? Make sure. Nah, man. I don't even. I know what I know. Why I don't like Eichenberg. I mean, 805 already knows why I don't like Eichenberg. Because I felt there was somebody who we should have taken instead of him. If we already addressed that position, I don't even care about him being drafted in the 5th. But we already know why. Who I thought should have been drafted over him. So, it's a sad situation. I think we have to keep one of the Stooges. I think us running that 5-2-4, I think that might be a precursor to what we do week 1. We already know Harbaugh. He loves to run the ball. They really don't have any outside weapons right now. So I think we might see a lot of 5-2-4 that week 1 game just to have some extra bodies on the field to kind of hold up in the run game.
I'm with you. And Helen, if you missed it, we did. That taking Pete was a tough one because he did not look good at tackle. There's a good chance that he might come down and play guard. DJ Glaze did look very good that last game against the Niners. So there's definitely going to be some moving pieces with the offensive line, but we want to keep a little more depth because of the injury concerns. You don't know what's going to happen with Colton the rest of the season. JPJ may not, pan out to be as healthy as we'd like him to be. We just don't know. So
yeah, Mumford's been hurt 2 separate times this offseason already, bro. So I'm not trusting him to be my replacement left tackle if Colton Miller goes down.
Yeah, I'm with you. So that's it, guys. That's our breakdown.
Thank you, Milka Beezy.
But that's our 53-man breakdown. Hey, I think I'll be honest, guys. I think it was a pretty good breakdown. I appreciate you guys coming along with me with this. Once again, like I always say, I like coming on with you guys. I think my camera's a little rough right now. I like coming on with you guys because we just break it down and we keep it as real as possible. We're not biased unless it comes to Eichenberg, with Severe. I think at the end of the day, we try to be as real as possible. We're not, we don't stand close to any player. We just try to think, what does the team need? What should the team take at the end of the day to make sure that we have a successful season, not just an individual good season. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me, man. It was great. Again, everybody in the chat, I appreciate you guys. We held a pretty good number this entire way. You guys stuck with us. I appreciate you guys listening to our voices. I know our voices get annoying after time, but remember, hit that like button. Go to Chris, Protect the Shield podcast. Make sure you go and subscribe to him. Severe Raider, go subscribe to him as well. Well, don't know what you guys' schedule looks like, but maybe we could jump on, do another prep for week 1 as the week goes on. Obviously, we'll get more at a training camp, and then maybe let's have a reaction. We'll have a little reaction show, see kind of how our 53-man roster holds up. So, for sure. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys. Everybody in the chat, appreciate you. We'll see you guys on the next one. We're out.
Appreciate y'all, man.